why is it an employer's job to help safeguard the well-being of their workers?
Okay. That's a great question. I think very relevant in these times. And I think it also comes back to what we think work is, right? The entire definition of work has changed over the last, I would say, centuries. So we look at post-industrial age. So work has now become, a significant part of everyone's lives, right? So most of our waking hours, a lot of it is spent on work. And the second thing is most businesses today are in people's business. So people are very centric to any business. So be it interacting with your customers, supporting your customers, reaching out to customers, being able to put out the face of business, right? So these two things, work occupy a significant part of our lives. People are centric to business. And when I say people, it's employees, it's your own teams. And that makes it critical for any employer to value what their team is doing, because that's the only way their business can grow. And in that sense, they have to take some responsibility and ensure that their teams, their employees are happy, productive. And in a way, we have a saying in Zoho that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. Right? So that's the way we look at it as well. And that's true for any businesses. And if you want to do well, take care of your employees and well-being, and take a holistic view of things, right? So when I say well-being, it's not just you take care of them when they're at the office. It's basically holistic uh, well-being. So that means even out of the office, try to make lives easy for them. So to give you an example, some of the things that we do at Zoho is, if they're coming to office, we provide last mile, transportation to the office from the train station, things like that, or a cafeteria which makes it easy for them. They don't have to pack lunch and things like that, or go anywhere. Daycare services if you have small children. So these things make life easy for your employees, and that reflects on to their work, their passion, their loyalty. So that's good for business.
So looking at employee wellbeing is difficult enough job for you as an employer in normal circumstances, let alone during the pandemic. So what additional challenges? We're all aware of what the additional challenges are. How have you coped at Zoho during the pandemic?
Right. Well, I would say that, yeah, these are very strange times. So it's all the more important in these stressful times. So it basically comes down to three things that we see. One is the tools. When I say tools, it's tools that enable you to really work from anywhere. The second is the culture that supports the tools, the culture and the DNA of your company. And third is the leadership, not in a specific order. So let me take this one by one. So if you look at it now in these times, tools have become very important to let anyone continue the work from really anywhere, right? So this is an essential medium that enables you to work from home, work from office, or wherever you may be. And that's something that we've seen in all these lockdowns that's basically happening across the world. The continuity that enables the continuity of work. And when it comes to tools, this is something that's very close to our hearts, because this is something that we build and offer to customers. So these are, we offer tools for working remotely, to do your work remotely. We offer our own tool sets to run all parts of your business, sales, marketing, different parts. And that enabled us to work from home fairly early on, because for any company, if you have to leave office, you don't have to work from office, the first challenge is how do you continue doing your work? The tools are basically one crucial part of it that enables working from anywhere. The second part is the tools by itself cannot exist in isolation without a supportive culture. And when I say culture, means it's the work environment that you have in the company. So culture based on trust, which empowers your employees. So when you have people working from home, for example, you shouldn't be timing them and clocking them, saying, when are they starting work. So that's that culture of trust. And also be sensitive to individuals' needs. So, we are seeing so many people work from home, and not everyone is in the same position. Not everyone is equal. Not everyone is comfortable or has the means from working from home. And this is also because we are all social beings. So when you work from home for extended duration, it can be very stressful for sometimes, because you don't have that physical interaction that you have in the office. So, and that could result in some kind of a mental stress for some people. So this is where the employer has to be sensitive to individuals' needs, and try to help your employees cope up with it. So it could be coping up in terms of helplines or forums where they can reach out to if they have a problem, being able to provide some guidelines. So that's basically the culture aspect of it. The third important, very important part is the leadership. And I would say culture and leadership are interconnected. Without the right leadership, you can't have the right culture. And that basically means that apart from the direction that you set for the company and your teams and employees, the constant communication is very important on what is it that you're going to do, how to deal with these times, how do you operate? Because we've seen, for example, lockdowns are announced pretty suddenly, and then you have to shift the way you work. So that kind of communication is important, as it is listening to your employees. So giving an example, now digital tools enable you to have an open house, a digital virtual open house. That's something that we use a lot at Zoho. So that gives you an opportunity to listen and then fine-tune your direction and adjust your new way of working.
Do you have an example of how using the right tools have improved employee well-being?
If you look at it, why do you need to use the right kind of tools? If you look at it, so it's basically, it helps the employee be more productive, get the job done without being unnecessarily stressed out. They're more connected to their colleagues, they're able to work flexibly, they're able to continue work, and that itself, getting your work done on time, getting it done in a very in a nice way, it gives them a sense of satisfaction, which is what everyone wants from work, right? So, and that's what these tools that are connected together that Zoho offers is able to provide. And it also gives your employees a kind of level playing ground to participate in your virtual workplace. When I say virtual, it's because people are logging in from anywhere, and different people have different personalities. In a physical room, you may have a person who has a very dominant personality, but virtually speaking, if you're part of a virtual workplace, everyone gets an opportunity to participate. So that basically is, the tools help you build this cohesive workforce and work productivity.
Can these tools be expensive or disruptive? I'll answer the first part of that question, because when we looked into Zoho, for example, and we were given a presentation, we were amazed at how cost-effective a solution it was. But in terms of disruptive, obviously that's potentially an issue as well, if you can overcome the expense challenge.
So are they expensive or disruptive? Well, it doesn't have to be. I would say, a lot of these also depends on the situation of the organization. The needs of a smaller organizations are different from the needs of a larger organization. But I would say that the common idea to get these to be successful is to take one part at a time, do it incrementally, and then try out small experiments, get your people trained, your employees trained, and then if that works, move on to the next area. So do it one by one. So Zoho offers a lot of these tools which are also well integrated, and that takes a lot of pain away from your day-to-day work, because it's not like you're dealing with 10 tools. For this I have to go here, and for the second one I have to go here. It's all integrated, so it gives you ability to seamlessly go from one application to another. But in general, the way to do it is, when you introduce tools, you have to make sure your people understand how to use it. That's very crucial, and that's universal.
Can you give some examples of any best practice that you have seen or experienced yourself during this time?
Sure. So I would say that when it comes to remote working, we basically enhanced some of our own remote working tools, such as remote meeting, remote digital workplace. We've done some recent announcement with features supporting this virtual workplace as well. So this is basically what we've seen is people can really work from anywhere using these tools, and the key is it has to be seamlessly working. So if you're working if you're a salesperson working with a customer, you still need to collaborate with your internal stakeholders, employees. So unless your tools are connected, because you have different tools for talking to customers, different for internal collaboration, unless they work together, it's not effective. You can't do your job effectively. So that's the nature of the tools. I'll also say there's some of the best practices when it comes to remote working. What we've seen is, I'll give you an example from Zoho's perspective. We know that everyone is in a very difficult situation with the pandemic. It's not just a health crisis, but there's also an underlying economic crisis, right? So what we decided is, what's important at this point is to help the community and the customers around us, and in addition to the employees. Right? So that's why we launched some, we launched some programs to help our customers. So one of them was subscription relief, where customers can continue to use our product during these difficult times. They don't have to pay us till they get back to some sense of normalcy from an economic standpoint. We also released some apps which helped our businesses get back to work. So we released a back to work app that basically deals with employee well-being, safety. We also had a kitchen that served our own employees for lunch and dinner and everything. We turned that into a community kitchen to serve some of the underprivileged people who were struggling during these times. The last thing that we also tried out, which was like an experiment started a year back, is what we've also always felt is to offer great products, build these products, and to engage customers. Location doesn't matter. So around a year or so back, we started experimenting, setting up offices in rural areas, especially in India. This is where we tried, but we're doing similar experiments in the US as well. Set up offices in rural areas where we could actually, and you could do work from there, because technologies such as cloud and broadband is able to help you do that. And what we realized is, setting up office creates opportunity in that local area. It creates basically prosperity powered by these cloud technologies. And that could be a greater purpose behind all these technology and, that we work with. And to enable that, you also have to have the culture, which is a very decentralized culture we have at Zoho, to enable that. And that's good for everything, employees. It's good for the society, the environment, because you are not congesting large cities if you move to rural areas. So these are some things that we tried out, and we found it that it worked well.
And what sort of, as in
considerations do you feel employees have to take into consideration? Considerations to take into consideration, considerations to take mind of to ensure employee well-being.
Right. So I already talked about some of the things that you have to take in consideration. One is, of course, remote work could be very stressful. So always watch out for how your teams are doing, basically, and do it not in a centralized way. You have to delegate that responsibility at a team level, where any individual is very comfortable with the teams that they work with. It's not some central team sitting somewhere else. So they have to be in touch with employees at a team level to ensure that everyone is doing okay. Pay attention to stress levels in the team. Sometimes even ask your team members to switch off if that's required, things like that. The second thing is, not everyone is geared up to work from home. So some form of financial assistance to help your employees set up some kind of a home office. This is going to be very helpful for people. And third is, always keep communication channels open.
And sorry, the last
question.
Oh,
I was just going to ask, so whereabouts are you today, Sridhar? Where are we talking to you from?
I'm based in Holland.
Okay.
But we have large teams across the world. So we have offices in 14 locations. Very recently, we opened up 6 rural offices in remote villages in India.
Yeah.
And in fact, our CEO is based from there. And we are all able to connect, talk as though really, the location doesn't matter anymore. It's become like that.
Yeah. So,
and in terms of moving forward, what's your largest sort of office cluster, and how many do you have, or did you have in in your largest office?
Our largest office is in our global headquarters in Chennai, in the southern part of India. We had close to 8,000 people there.
Wow.
And when the decision to go remote as a result, so when we were, because since we have offices everywhere, we were closely watching the news on how coronavirus is affecting different regions. And although we could see spread in different parts of the world, such as China and Europe early on, and that's where we decided in, I think it was the first week of March, that it is safer to work from home. So it took us probably 3 days for us to, from the point of making the decision to really implementing it. And that was possible because of the tools. Also the culture, because we've always been distributed. We have people from all over. So we had the setup, that is the tools and the culture part, to help us work remotely. And that was very interesting. We didn't think it was, I mean, you never know unless you try it, right? So but that was very important. And the second thing was, going based on how things are going. In fact, in the Netherlands, the government just announced, I would say, like a forcible work from home as far as you can do. So we are all back to, we were going to the office a couple of days a week, but now we are all back at home, working from home. And you have to be prepared for this kind of uncertainty. That's for sure. And that's something we understand. As far as we've got all the setup to help us do that, I think that's fine. So it's going to be, I think, a mix of home plus office. It's going to be hybrid. It's never going to be one or the other, even I would say when things come back to normal. But these are new times. Sometimes old habits are hard to break. But any business, any company, any organization wants to work in the new way, they have to embrace change. And a lot of that is in our minds.
It's interesting you make the point about how quickly you pivoted as a business. One of our next guests coming up in Hudspeth, who's the leader of the county council here, I asked Ian, how long, if you were told this pandemic was coming in 5-10 years time, how long would it have taken you as an organisation to shift your business to remote working?
And he said, it would
take months, maybe a year. And I asked the same question to you. It took you 3 days, but had you been given notice, how long would it have taken you?
That's a tough question, because
say 4 days.
4 days today. I would say a lot of these technologies. So if you see what has enabled this, there's obviously the broadband and the cloud that allows you to work from anywhere. So that's the key part. So I would say the technology part of it wasn't there to let you work seamlessly from anywhere. And that's a big difference. It's also, I think, the mindset of everyone that to be flexible. I think the cloud has also changed the mindset that you can work from anywhere. Although people didn't work as prevalently from home before this. Of course, there were certain people who worked a lot from home, but this has kind of moved the masses to home working. And that's the big shift. But a lot of it is also a mental reboot, right? So nobody would have done this left to themselves. And the pandemic has really forced the hand for a lot of people and companies.
And that trust issue as well, isn't it? Maybe that was an obstacle for lots of employers, that they could actually trust their staff to work effectively from home. And they've probably been surprised at how productive their teams have been in recent months.
In fact, that's been I would say, a refreshing change in attitude that, earlier people were not sure if their teams, their employees would be productive, would be engaged. And now they see it, they see it that they are. And some of them think that working from home is more productive. And a lot of companies have announced that they will continue to do so for the rest of the year or partial next year. Some have even offered their employees to, if you wanted to work from home permanently, you have the flexibility to do that. But the pandemic has taught us two main things: the technology and the digital infrastructure to work from really anywhere exist. But at the end of the day, we're all social animals, social creatures. We are not meant to work in isolation. So you need some form of social interaction. And that's why even our rural initiative of small offices, hubs where people can go get together in small groups just to get some interaction. That's basically part of the the social, building the social fabric. That's very important. So we're not meant to work in isolation, that's for sure, even though the technology can help you do that. So it has to be a mix of both.
I think I may have stolen Emma's thunder on the last question, but
I was just going to say, and finally, if you could pick one thing that has most surprised you about your business, what would you pick?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat that?
Sorry. If you had to pick one thing about your business that potentially surprised you during this time, what would you pick?
Okay, what would be about our business? Okay, I would say the one is actually in these difficult times, right? In pandemic, what we have seen is it's kind of brought out the humanness in not just us, but in a lot of people, in our customers, our competitors, in the world in general, right? So you can see that people are trying to, it's not about businesses just maximizing their profit, which is what generally they tend to do, but it is also putting, other people, it could be their customers, ahead of, business priorities, helping them out in a variety of ways. And that's been a refreshing change to see it happen. Yeah.
Fantastic, brilliant. Sridhar, I really appreciate you joining us today in your busy schedule. So hopefully one day we'll get to meet in the flesh. But for now, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for Zoho.